guys, we are back again with the infamous Louis. So please tell us, introduce yourself, let us know who you are.
Yes, I am Louis. I go by the name LF3. I'm a producer and engineer. I've been doing this about 11 years now, and happy to be here. You got a great show. It's an honor to be on this right now.
You got your new studio over there, Just Be Great Studios. Make sure you guys, after you get an interview, before you get an interview, just make sure you tap in with the studio. This is just something new that you're starting out?
Yeah, so I've always had the Just Be Great Studios in my house, and I've worked at various studios in the Orlando area, and it just finally, it was a no-brainer that eventually I need to start my own place. Working out of the house, that room got small very quickly. So I teamed up with Indie Jams. Shout out to Indie Jams. And they gave me a great opportunity to start my own studio. And Just Be Great Studios is now available to everybody. We have the studio ready to go. My production, I've been doing production I've been taking it seriously more. I mean, I've been doing it since I was 15. And I'm not going to tell you the total amount of years it is. That's embarrassing. But I've been doing dropping instrumental every week for 114 weeks was yesterday.
Ooh, yes.
So I've been dropping one new beat every week, and I think for the last 20 or more, they've been done on the day of. So that's my little my work, my current work in a nutshell.
I love the consistency. The name is kind of self-explanatory, but what did you think of the name? Like, how did you okay, this is the one right here?
You talking about for LF3?
Yeah.
So, LF3, that's my initials. For people who do know me pretty closely, it's my initials. And when it came time to come up with a name, rather than figuring out a character or somebody I could best personify myself as, the only person I could play best was myself. So I decided to go with LF3 just to be myself on to the world. You know, I'm presenting myself, not something I want to be, something I actually am. And I think that's key, is embracing yourself when you go forward in anything in life. Is you have to embrace yourself to find that path.
To kind of segue a little bit, going in a little bit deeper, if you don't mind. So you said that you kind of struggle with self a little bit. So kind of talk to me a little bit about the imposter syndrome and what exactly that means and how that journey was.
100%. Yeah. So I had I've done a lot of things in my career in the past 11 years. I've had the chance to work with DJ Khaled, Ace Hood, Lil Wayne, Rick Ross, Nicki Minaj, Chris Brown, J. Cole, Big Crit, so many people. And the funny thing about it is, having come this far in my career, the Disney, Telemundo, all that stuff, imposter syndrome, I had an issue believing that I earned that stuff. And that was my biggest blockade. And I always tell people a lot of times, the only thing that can stop you is you. The first battle in anything you do starts in the mind. And mine took much longer than I expected with the imposter syndrome. So I did therapy, and I was working on trying to, I'd like to say mental strength. I hate the word mental health.
Yes, mental strength.
Mental strength, because when we go to the gym and we work out, we don't ever say we're health training.
Right.
We're strength training. So why, when we do stuff to better our mind, are we focused on the health aspect? Why don't we focus on the strength? Because what we're doing is strengthening ourselves. So when it came to that, as far as my journey, I started learning more about the imposter syndrome, and my therapist asked me a question, and it rocked me to my core. He's like, do you celebrate your success? And in my head, I'm like, of course. Yeah.
Celebrate you? It's time for that?
Of course I celebrate my success. Yeah. And he's like, well, what does it look like? I was like, I go get food, I go have a drink, I celebrate my success. And he's like, the reason why I'm asking is the first step to getting out of imposter syndrome is celebrating your success, giving yourself your flowers. That's how you believe you actually earned it. And when he said that, the biggest, I was like, what? Celebrating? Are you kidding me? But at the moment, I had an album that was supposed to come out. And I remember at that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just invite people from different points in my career. I'm going to celebrate this album. And I dropped it. People were coming from New York, Boston. People had flights booked. And the last hurricane that hit Florida in November happened November 10th. My listening party was November 11th. Everybody's flights got canceled.
Damn.
And in the motion of doing that, I wasn't going to lose my mission. I told myself, this is going to happen. I remember I came across a song by Queen, Show Must Go On. And I probably played that on repeat for hours. And I was like, you know what? Show must go on. And we did it. We did the release party. I live streamed it. People checked it out. And it was one of the most fulfilling things for me. And then, like, I actually had another one that came out recently. We did another listening party. And the cast is getting better. Like, the people who come to these things is insane. When you celebrate your own success, people are more prone to help you celebrate yours as well. But if you don't celebrate it first, why is anybody going to join your party?
Right. I definitely feel like it can be a hard thing because that's literally on the self-love test that I have, just being confident and not cocky. It's like a very thin line between like, you know, having that confidence. People, they try not to show the cocky side, so they lack the confidence, or is it some people who are like too confident, so they're like super cocky. So it's just like really finding that middle ground, but like being okay to be confident and comfortable in your own skin, because like we have these things that we should be proud of. So it's just like, who are you to like not celebrate yourself?
100%. No, and it's crazy that it's something so simple. You know, we condition ourselves, and I'll be honest with you, the way it wasn't it wasn't ill intent how I developed it. I know exactly how I developed it, because in this industry, when you're working on something, all right, it's cool, I did this, cool, I achieved that, cool, but what's the next thing?
Right.
Like, you get that anxiety, like you want to go to the next thing, and it compounded because, like, getting ready for the next thing for me in the moment, I wasn't celebrating the success. I was so focused on the next thing, and it compounded. And little did I know, I was actually creating something that would be harder to fight down the line. So you have to take time. You have to give yourself your flowers and smell them at the same time, too. Like, it's a whole process, and you really have to give yourself the credit.
You said it best, though, as far as like the whole mental health thing and mental strength, because it's like when you're gaining that strength, you're like building resilience and stuff like that. With health, it's so like stigmatized, where it's like when you hear mental health, it's just like, I don't want to talk about that. But it's just like, okay, mental strength, this is something I'm working every day towards, like just being a better version of myself, honestly.
100%.
So I definitely agree with you in that aspect.
Yeah, no, it's so key. I mean, that's one thing I always like try to push. Is just like, oh, it's great you did that. How'd you celebrate it? You know, let me know. That's the part I'm most interested in, is how did you celebrate it? Because you got to give yourself your flowers. Like, that's so important. Actually, what's crazy is I told you I worked on Bugatti. Ace of Bugatti was my biggest credit. I earned a platinum plaque for that.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Well, the funny part is I talked to my daughter about it, and I was telling her I finally ordered the plaque. And kids are so simple with the way they think things, you know. So I was talking to my daughter, and I was like, yeah, your dad won this award. It was platinum. It's really cool. I won it 10 years ago. And she's like, 10 years ago? And I was like, yeah, I won it 10 years ago. And she's like, that's crazy. You could have had that thing in 5 minutes, and you waited 10 years? You're so patient. And I was like, I had to break it down to her. I was like, well, you know, there's different things. People go through certain things. And I had to, but in the simplicity of that, like, the mind was so cluttered that, yeah, I could have had that in 5 minutes, but I really psyched myself out of it, you know, at the end of the day. And my daughter is one of those things, like, she brings me back to reality on a lot of things that are kind of wrong in my mind, because she thinks something so simply. Like, I'm not even kidding you, when I went to go look for that plaque, it took me 5 minutes to finalize the order. So she wasn't lying, like 100%. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
I was psyching myself out with this, that, and the other. Oh, I don't have this number. I don't have that. When I talked to them, like, you don't need none of that. You just need to tell us your name, the song, and the record label, and that's our job to find that. And I was like, geez. So there you go. Like, you really psych yourself out of your blessings, you know?
Save the children. They're always so great with like their energy, like so hopeful, so positive. Definitely. I do have an interesting question for you. I know for me, mental health, let's just say mental strength.
Mental strength. Let's go.
Mental strength is definitely in my family, as far as like just things that they struggle with. So as far as like family and just situations where people kind of like have mental disabilities, kind of in generational type things, do you have like any perspectives on how like parents can navigate through just like raising their children when they've kind of like struggled or faced something, or like how do they, you know, move forward with raising a kid?
Well, I could say for myself, my daughter doesn't have any disabilities or anything, but I think it's universal across the board, especially with kids, is you need to listen to them until they literally are not talking. And that sounds like a billion years from now, because kids will talk for days, but literally you have to listen to them. Everything they say. And that's where you'll get to the bottom of most of the situations. When it comes with kids, like, you really have to get down. Like with my daughter, man, I have a lot of really close conversations. I talk to her like an adult, and she responds just like that. She's very intellectual, very smart. She knows herself, which is very important. And yeah, that's for me. Yeah. No, I think that's the thing, is you just have to listen to the kids. Patience goes a long way. Patience is, every bit of the game. I know sometimes people tell me I have patience, and I think it's really evolved since I've had a kid. Like, there were times where I wasn't really patient, but having my daughter and like going through the process of teaching her all these things, and then watching how she takes it later. Like, I may tell her one thing today, and it may not seem like the light bulb popped, but whenever I see her put it in practice, that's where the reward is for me. It's like, wow, she really held on to that message.
Definitely.
And it's only because the only reason she listens to me is I listen to her. It's a give and take thing. So the fact that I listen intently and I listen until she has nothing to say, she gives me that same platform as well.
That's a working, healthy relationships. Go, Dad. Yes, she has a great role model. So I'm glad there are still like great dads out there who are like actively trying to be good role models, and their daughters. Like, that's so important, because like dads, your daughters are looking up to you. They definitely like need you in their life. So please, 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 definitely. But I really appreciate you coming on. If you guys didn't hear me when I first said it, please go check out Just Be Great Studios and Indie Jams. We have the wonderful Lewis just taking care of you, handling your music needs, whatever you need. Do you have any social medias that we can check you out on?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at real.lf3, real.lf3, and I do my beats live weekly on TikTok at real_lf3, real_lf3.
You guys heard it here on Mindful Melodies. Thank you so much for being a part of my first episode.
What an honor.
You guys, we're gonna, come back after the break.